No, I can't even say it on camera. I'm not even going to say it on camera knowing I'm going to cut it. It's a good one.
That's a good
I'm going to tell you after. This is where it gets great. Do you remember the time that we... Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Hayden Alabama Podcast. I'm Philip.
I'm Shane.
I'm Cliff.
Old Clifford joined us tonight, a new face. It'll make sense why he's here in a little bit. So tonight we're going to start off with some local events. We have about 4 items of interest to share with everybody. Then there's a new hot podcast that Fox 6 covered, and they make it sound like it's right here in Hayden, Alabama. It's we've got some thoughts on the Why They Left podcast, and I think the Hayden community has some thoughts about the Why They Left podcast as well.
It's really a nectar.
Well,
Get into that later.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. That's a little teaser there, Clifford. Let it hang them in there, all right? And then lastly, so we brought Cliff on because our guest last week, so first of all, I want to thank you for the response of everybody. Man, lots of listens, lots of follows in response to that. Yeah. Johnny and Bradley did a great job. And
Johnny was a natural.
He's like a superstar.
Just laid back in the seat, just like he'd been there forever.
It's just who he is. He was just being who he is.
That's exactly right. There was no fakeness there. No,
that was the real deal.
That was the real deal.
And I think that's why so many people have responded to his shorts, his reels and stuff, is because he is so genuine.
Yeah.
And I think you just see it. And people like that.
Sure.
He's genuine. And then so lastly, we got a couple of stories. So Clifford was around for many of those, and he's got a little something special for you guys, so we'll do that. Well, let's talk about local stuff. First things first, Hayden varsity basketball.
Bringing
the heat. So Jeremiah Colwell, one of our listeners, and Jeremiah was on several weeks ago.
Quite the mustache Jeremiah's sporting too.
Man, was that not awesome?
That was awesome.
Impressive.
So he shared with me the rankings that just came out, 5A. So congratulations, Hayden boys, number 10 in 5A.
Wow.
I'm going to tell you this before we move on to the second point. I went and watched them play corner the other night. We always struggled to beat corner in basketball because they had the Bagley feeder school, which Bagley, all they played was basketball. Yeah. They may have played something else, but they played a lot of basketball.
They had our number in school.
We had a hard time beating them. Hayden beat them by 38 points or 36, 38. It was something like that. They dominated.
Yeah. That's real good to hear.
It makes you feel a little bit better about yourself, doesn't it?
I just couldn't. I was just watching it going, dude, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's not. That was
I thought they were going to ask me to
play.
play.
When we were in school, that was absolutely unheard of.
They had played through all the layers, and I thought they were going to get people from the stands. It was just kind of one of those deals.
And that's a pretty big rivalry. That Hayden corner rivalry is.
Yeah.
Number 2, let's talk about. So it's the Christmas season. So Rickwood Caverns has their underground Christmas. Want to let everybody know about that. That's a pretty cool little deal.
Well, you think about it, you don't think about like Hayden having an entire world underneath this as well. And and in Rickwood, you get to go experience some of that because you get to walk all the way through all those caverns all the way back to the back, and like the Grinch is back in the back or something and scaring the kids. And
I didn't think about this, but we have a Rickwood alumnus.
Yes, that was a former emploemployee of mine.
Oh, yeah. You did it.
Yeah,
I worked at Rickwood.
He worked at Rickwood for a while.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
There was a Grinch there then too, but it was above ground.
It's above ground Grinch.
Gotcha. Y'all did a lot of weed eating out there back in those days.
And I'll tell you, I was telling somebody about this the other day. I would, if I could afford to weed eat every day like that, if I could pay my bills and that be the only responsibility I had was run a weed eater, I'd be on it.
Really?
Man.
How many snakes did you see there? That seems like a real snaky place over there.
It should be, but the vibration from the weed eater
kept it away.
Kept them away.
I got you.
All right, number 3, Precision Graphics, which is one of our proud partners. So here's this. Don't fast forward because this is for you. Scott just got this hot off the press. So here's some of their latest designs up here that you can find up the store, Chestnut Drive. But here's what you need to know. From now until Christmas, they're open. They've got a 50% off select item sale. But Scott, talked to him right before we recorded today, an additional 10% off. So if so some of their items are still full price because they're new. Like these are new items. So if you go in and say the word podcast at checkout, that's PODCAST, you get a 10% discount off everything. Now, but here's the deal. If it's already marked at 50%, if it's one of those select items at 50%, you get another 10%. So if you go up there and say podcast between now and Christmas, 60% off of those select items. So
Possible.
if it was, possible. So if the shirt's $10 and it's on the 50% off rack, was $5 now because of 50%. You say podcast, now it's $4.
Awesome.
So that's a pretty good deal.
That's basically free.
That's basically free.
They're giving them away up there.
But don't forget, go see Precision Graphics, Scott and his team up Chestnut Drive up here. Used to be the old Going Yard facility.
Right off 160.
Right off 160. It's what? 400 yards up there?
Maybe half a mile up on the left.
Go check them out. Make sure you say podcast at checkout for an additional 10%. All right. And our fourth point, local news. So we've got some new business.
We do.
Psalm 34 Bakery had a grand opening. Was that last Saturday?
Yeah, and they're partnered with these designs there. So
Psalm 34 Bakery is located right across the street from the primary school. What we used to call the elementary school.
Yeah.
It's the primary school now.
it used to be, what did it used to be?
Insurance?
That was a chiropractor.
Yeah.
Chiropractor.
That's right.
They had all kind of signs. They do everything.
Yeah, they would fix your inner ear problems and all kinds of stuff.
ADHD. They had it seemed like they had a cure for everything in there. I don't know why they didn't stay in business.
I don't know.
Hair loss,
everything, but then they just
hearing loss.
Hair loss. Man, I didn't know that. I'd stopped in.
Yeah, me too.
I have actually visited Psalm 34 more than I visited the chiropractor that was there before. I got
so that
stopped
means
by.
You've stopped by once.
I have stopped by once.
All right, my man.
But I went by there and got some of their dill salad, chicken salad, and it is.
Oh, so it's more than cookies and cakes and
stuff. Yeah, they've
got
got like lasagna and like in the pan, already fixed where you
just go put it in the oven.
You just go put it in the oven. You're ready to go for your supper time.
Well, all right. Well, there's your local events. Well, let's go to why they left. Now, So here's two things before we get started, fellas. We got some. So Clifford here has listened to all 5 episodes. I've listened to 4. Shane's done some research, so that's our expertise. So here's what I don't want to. We're not here to promote this podcast. I'm not asking you to go and start listening to it. I'm not trying to help them necessarily. And also, number 2, we're not here to beat them up either. We're not here to criticize them or anything, but we do want to talk about just some thoughts that we have.
And some corrections.
So, Clifford, you've listened to all 5 chapters.
I have.
What are your first thoughts on him?
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, it's if it turns out to be what they claim it's going to be, it's scary and crazy stuff.
So let's give just a quick synopsis for somebody that hasn't listened to it. So the claim is that through a series of events, a compound was found where there's a main house and 3 to 4 other houses,
several outbuildings
there, some trailers and different things. And the deal is that it's almost like it was totally abandoned.
Yeah.
And just but there one day, gone the next, didn't even take anything. And there's medical records and.
Yeah, medical records, prescription medications, and I think the disturbing part really is like children's toys,
clothes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of stuff it's disturbing. Just the thought of it.
And they're saying it's located in Hayden, right?
That's the first correction point that we want to talk about. They say Hayden. This is what Nectar at best.
Yeah, it's probably got a Hayden address.
Probably runs out of Hayden's post office.
Yeah.
Which is totally.
I would be willing to bet the people that live on that road probably went to school in Hayden or in Cleveland.
You think so?
It's close.
I think that's
it's
right. I think that would be a Cleveland.
It's right there where it gets
gray,
hazy, kind of gray there. But yeah, so it's not down. This is not in downtown Hayden. I mean, this is way down 160. So there's the first thing. Well, go ahead, Cliff. Sorry, just wanted to clarify that.
Oh. Yeah, that was one of the main things that I was. They'll tell you the address on there, so you can go and look for yourself where it's at. But I wouldn't go looking at the property. But it's disturbing.
What could be?
Yeah, what could be to know it was happening. Maybe it's not what we would necessarily consider in Hayden, but it's still in Blount County.
It's close.
It's close. I mean, it's
close enough for discomfort, so to speak.
I mean, we can be there in 5 minutes from right here.
So tell me, what exactly are they saying? What are they implying happened?
Speculating.
What are they speculating has happened?
I'd say abuse, wouldn't you, Cliff?
Yeah.
fraud, medical fraud.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. But possible I think abuse. That what they're really saying that happened at this compound is they're kind of insinuating that it was that they were doing like tests on children and.
I got you. Something off the record.
Yeah, they've not made any concrete statements.
Yeah,
and
but that's kind of what they're alluding to. Like they were, using children as guinea pigs or something like that. And that's what's really disturbing about it. But
sure,
you're 5 episodes deep, or I'm 5 episodes deep in it, and really don't know a whole lot more than I did after the first one.
Yeah, very inconclusive. I'd say that. Don't get your hopes up if you're going to go binge listen to this thing. When you get to the end of chapter 5, you're not going to have some sort of great revelation that you're like, oh, this is fact.
But he's definitely slow rolling this one.
Oh, man.
You think about it, people are crazy. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, there's a song about that, right? People are crazy. But to think that something like that would be happening here is just it's mind blowing. But there are some places that are very secluded that you would never know exactly what was taking place unless you were, of course, a part of it.
Nyoda would have been a great place.
Nyoda. Well, do you remember the night we were hunting over here with the dogs one night, and
Great point.
The dog trees on an abandoned house.
Still don't know where we were.
The trees growing up into the house. And Philip looks at me and he's like, "Where are we at?"
No idea.
I said, "Man, I know how to get back home, but I have no idea about this place right here. Like, why is it abandoned? Why did they not finish it?
A foundation, subfloor. They're building walls, and all of a sudden it's quit.
Yeah,
and there's now trees growing out of the middle of the house.
Strange.
It was bizarre. And there's a picnic table there, I believe.
Picnic table. Yeah.
And it was probably what would you say from your house? Is that where y'all turned loose at?
Yeah, from my house.
Mountain field up here.
We walked. It would be a mile from here.
Maybe a little.
I could get back there.
Okay,
and just like that. So I guess what you're saying is that night there we don't know anything about that. But you walk upon an unfinished house, abandoned homestead. It's spooky.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the podcast. I mean, that's completely unrelated. Yeah. But my point is we're
just chasing that squirrel.
We were chasing that squirrel around, trying to get him. So the point is, I mean, it's absolutely possible what these people are saying. Is it probable? I'm not sure. So
it's a stretch,
but it obviously has lit a fire in a lot of people in Hayden, because what the folks that I've talked to about, they're more concerned about kind of the derogatory things that this man has said.
Well, let's talk about that. He basically and I think he has to do this for effect. Again, I'm not criticizing the guy. I think he has to do this for effect. That it's this small, podunk, backwards, uneducated, closed off place. Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
That's the brush he's painting with, and I think that's for effect.
Well, and so that
which is offensive.
It is offensive. If you live here in Hayden, or if you live in any small town that may be listening, and we've talked about this with Jeremiah when a few weeks ago, is the stigma that's kind of put on small town people. Or you're small-minded, you're closed-minded, you're uneducated, and to hear that I kind of got bristled up a little bit. Like, why are you assuming these things about this area? One thing we got very upset about. What did he say about our Dollar General?
He said it was shut down.
Hey,
man. We don't shut down a Dollar General in Hayden.
Hey, these Dollar Generals out here have gone forth and multiplied.
Hey, it's like the Harris reunion, baby. We don't die, we multiply. That's what their shirt said. You remember that?
Yeah.
And that's what we got. We got 3 Dollar Generals and a Dollar Tree.
Hey. / Family Dollar.
/ Family Dollar. We're 5X dollars.
If you're gonna spread misconception and untruth,
it doesn't need to be about Dollar
General. Do not let it be about the Dollar General.
No, this is the
we got
dollar store capital of Alabama, I would say.
Per capita.
Yes, per capita, no doubt.
In our school, we added another one in the school districts up there by Sammy Shack. There's a Dollar General up there at the
Is there
crossroads
really?
where Perry's Catfish
In our
used
school
to be.
district.
across the street.
In the Blount County side.
That's
of that
absolutely
crossroads.
Hayden.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
It is.
Hayden School
Mhm.
District right there.
Where Perry's used to be. Yeah.
Wasn't it Perry's?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Perry's
Very good
Catfish.
fried dill
Perry's
pickles. I know
Catfish.
that.
Yeah.
It burnt down. Sad day when that happened.
Yeah.
So did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was so he painted a picture about the community being closed-minded. I saw one of the Facebook, but I thought it was so sweet. You know, they said talking about education, that they're uneducated. You know, he kind of made that little bit of like and one lady responded and said, "Hey, we got people that go to college and have good jobs all in our community." I thought, oh, yeah, tell them we got some educated people. Around.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. But then he said, so here's another thing that hurt my feelings just a little bit. He talked about the dump sign.
Oh,
He said, well, one of the
that.
only signs they have in the community, something similar, you know, is the sanitation landfill is a couple miles down this road. I was thinking,
Wait a minute.
hey, buddy, I grew up down there
That's
by
my
the
backyard,
landfill,
buddy.
and we had a lot of good times around there, and ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's a transfer station now.
Yeah,
They're not putting it in the dirt
Just
anymore.
throw it in the
the
big
bin.
bin and they haul it off.
That's right.
To think that we only have one sign, we've got multiple signs.
Multiple signs.
Now, you may at one time could have thrown a rock from one side of the city limits to the other, but they've expanded that now.
That's fine. What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with
So
that.
let me ask you this. So I got two things to say. when
You
I'm
got-
talking
you
about
got
it.
two-
things.
you got two
I got two
things.
things to say. One, what's wrong with being from a small town? That where you know everybody in your community, where people in your community think alike, where people in your community get along, where people in your community watch out for you. What's wrong with that?
I love it.
I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean,
they clearly did. Even the guy that's from here, I forget his name. I'm not even going to say it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But the guy that's from here that he's interviewing is talking about it like it's a negative, that this is a negative thing and
So let me-
closed-minded people.
well, I think probably because his view of things are different than the majority around here.
So we're going to slander the
Right.
majority?
Right.
Okay.
That's what they do.
One other thing I wanted to say, and this is just about the podcast, and you know, I'm thankful for the listeners. So I just want to say that, man, if you take time to listen, it's important. It means a lot to me. One view, two view, you've taken time out of your day. You could be doing something else. You listen to this. I appreciate that. But I was thinking, you know, really thinking about the direction of the podcast, what I want it to be, the goals of it. Well, I have an iPhone. It's touchscreen. And, you know, I went too far. I swiped too far and ended up over there on Apple News. You know, it comes up on that one screen where they give you 3 articles or something like that. I mean, it's almost like a book. It's almost like a fiction, the world that we live in today.
Yeah.
Sometimes some of the headlines. And it was so bizarre. And the pictures are just almost offensive. And I went, okay, that's Apple's, what they want us to think the world is right now in this moment. And I thought, that is so far from the reality that I live in. And I was thinking, you know what? Maybe that's why some people enjoy this podcast, because it is, quote unquote, it's normal.
Yeah.
And it feels familiar as opposed to what you're seeing on the news and so what they're putting in your face all the time. And that's what I want this to be. I want it to be wholesome, something you can watch for your kids in the room, something that's familiar, that you can just enjoy. It's not an agenda. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's refreshing. Like one guy posted on the episode we did 44 that he said it was just fun. Basically, what he was saying is, I loved watching you laugh.
Yeah.
And I think that there's people out there that are just so down and so
Deprived.
I mean, just absolutely in such a bad place, because
Yeah.
if you sit there and watch the news all the time, you think the world's coming to an
Sure.
end. And you get to see, but you see it, you go, man, there's some people out there laughing. There's some people out there that can laugh at themselves.
Yeah.
There's some people out there that are having a good time and enjoying themselves. And people, I think they crave it.
And I'll tell you, I've known everybody that's in that video, y'all's last podcast, for a long time. And I promise you, if they could see what I know happened off the camera, how much laughing went then, that would be entertaining.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe what you could do is just edit the sound out of it and just let people watch y'all laugh.
Because
I know there was some laughing.
Oh man,
my head hurt. I had an absolute headache.
It's where you wake up the next day and you feel like you've done a bunch of crunches.
Yeah,
because you've laughed so hard.
I bet.
Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts on why they left? We spent a good time.
I do, and you can cut this out if we need to. But so, what do you think this guy's getting from painting the picture of Hayden being backwards or ignorant or whatever he is? But if it ends up being what the guy is alluding to it being,
I think he's trying to paint the picture of it is possible because it's so backwoods and so just the ignorant people wouldn't even notice that something like this is going on. And, I think that's kind of what he's trying to do is lay in the groundwork to paint the picture of, just.
But, the odd thing to that though is you hear people all the time of housing 35 children in their basement in the middle of downtown cities. Like Cleveland, Ohio has several cases where there were 5 and 6 young women stored in basements, so that's what's amazing to me is that he felt, I don't know. And again, we're not criticizing, but why paint that picture is
effect.
Yeah.
It fits the narrative. I mean, he is built, and I think that's you need to do that. I mean, you have to kind of build a narrative to keep people interested.
To produce, right?
Yeah,
sure.
And I think he's done a good job on that. I mean, he has built a kind of a feeling and an emotion, around this, and it's like, man, it could be possible because he said this and he said this and he said this. And these are the kind of people that are there. Why would it not happen?
So, do you think it's to get folks like us to conversate about that, or
he answered this early on? And Cliff, correct me if I'm wrong here. He said basically graduated high school, went to a liberal arts college, got a degree, and has been job hopping and has not been happy with any job that he's had. And so I think he's looking for something. And I think this podcast is maybe a potential way out or a way to get noticed by somebody, and he gets in this world of production and which is fine. I mean, I love it too. I do this podcast. I mean, I enjoy producing and creating content. And I think it could be, I think possibly this is an option for him to maybe do this again or whatever, which I think that's kind of his goal is to make a career out of this. Yeah. And he's done a good
investigative reporting, the true crime stuff. But I mean, and to be honest with it, he said he doesn't have any kind of journalism background or anything like that. I could only imagine if I tried to do something like this.
Mm-hmm. It's difficult.
But he's done a pretty good job.
I absolutely agree with that. He has.
Doing the digging and the research and all that stuff.
He's well spoken.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing a good job to not have any, when I say doing a good job, I'm talking about the presentation that he's making of not necessarily the material, because I don't know if that's true or not.
Right. We're not saying it's true. It's not. That's not our place. I'm just saying, as far like to clarify, when I say he's done a good job with the production, I mean he speaks well. It's easy to listen to. I've not had to force myself to listen to the episodes. I listen all the way to the end. It's not like I'm going, oh my goodness, skip next. No, it's
Yeah, it's a pretty easy listen.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot there.
I mean, there's a lot there.
Why they left. So, we'll see. He's supposed to kind of finish this up. He's got to do something with it.
Yeah, he's got to do something.
All right, let's go to the third topic. Clifford, you shared with us, so we talked about the Whirling Dervish, a.k.a.
We didn't realize how famous the Whirling Dervish, Mr. Quick Draw
McGraw. You have a quick draw story.
Yeah, I do.
You share it with us.
I do. Quick Draw lived next to a guy that we went to school with, Little Joe.
You were visiting that day?
I was visiting.
After school?
After school.
So let's paint the picture. What were you and Little Joe doing? What were y'all?
Can you say?
We can probably say, but I don't remember that. When you hear the rest of the story, you'll know why. My part of this is very, very.
I got you.
Okay. So outside there, and I see a dog. Quick Draw's dog.
Quick Draw's dog, because he lived
next door. Next door neighbor.
Next door to Little Joe.
Yes. And he goes to running. This dog is running. And behind him is a push mower. He has tied his dog out to a push mower. And the dog is dragging this push mower. I mean, it had to be a pretty good sized dog drag a push mower.
Had to be a strong dog.
On a leash or a rope? Hard to remember.
Or was he using the pull cable?
No, that would be great. I don't think that was it because I didn't hear it trying to fire.
And trying to start up.
Yeah.
Hit a bump and every time you hit a bump and trying to jerk it a little bit. No, I think it was probably just a leash tied to it.
Gotcha.
because
just the physics of things, I would say if it was a long rope, it probably wouldn't have been able to drag
that answers
it.
some questions.
So I do have some more questions though. Recalling the events that took place, do you remember seeing Quick Draw in the picture anywhere?
Later on, he come chasing.
Later,
he was probably ninjaing somebody.
I guarantee it. I guarantee you now.
But
He ninja'd that dog when he found him.
Yeah, I guarantee.
If he had Facebook at the time, he would have had to post on Facebook, "Have you seen my dog?"
Buddy, we got the Facebook post about dogs.
Still got him. Still rolling in.
You know, I don't have the Facebook, but that's
it's constant.
I would. That's one thing that I do miss about having Facebook
is the dogs. The dog
just seeing the entertainment of the Hayden, Alabama
it's too much
news and the dogs.
But he would have been asking for, "Have you seen my dog tied to
the Murray 20,
my push mower?"
Murray 20.
Yes, I mean that's pretty good. I mean, you think about that.
I'm just thinking it's pretty awesome that he thought about tying it to that. I'm thinking usually something more stationary is a better idea, but
he was an innovator.
He was an innovator.
as we heard the other day, he was a ninja before his time.
He sure was
before his time.
So maybe what he was doing was the push mower didn't run, so he was hooking it up like a mule.
Yeah,
and going to see if he could get the dog
to
pull it to cut the grass.
That's true.
You never know.
A
ninja before his time.
Mm-hmm.
If he was using the noggin of which I hit.
Yeah, I was wondering if that might have been before or after you.
That was definitely probably after.
You gave him the old
dink on the noggin.
Mm-hmm.
Still feel bad about that, man. I do.
One of my favorite, most memorable times with you was four-wheeler riding.
It's memorable. I don't know if I'd say favorite.
Why don't you share about that lesson that we learned about going, what would we call that, tandem on
doubled up.
Yeah,
doubled up, yeah.
What size four-wheeler was it?
It was a Suzuki Quadrunner 500 four-wheel drive.
That was a big one back then.
That was the big one.
They didn't make anything bigger. That was 500 was it back then. You're talking circa 1998.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah, we was riding together. I was on the back, and
where were y'all riding at?
It was the Son of Snakes, Nyota.
Oh, the whole
trek.
The little trek.
Yeah, between Deans Ferry Road and come out over by the dump.
But we were cutting from Deans Ferry Road back to Snakes property.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we'd made it to that creek.
Yeah. Big creek. And I mean, there ain't no telling how many times we went up and down that thing. I mean, and just this time, man, just went and
So Clifford's on the back.
Who was driving?
I was driving.
Okay.
Clifford's on the back. I do have a helmet on, and I don't know why I had a helmet on. I never rode with a helmet.
Just that day.
I don't think you did.
I did not. I wouldn't have this story if I did.
So we sat down. We get to the creek bank, the creek bed, and we sat for a little while and talked. That was, I think, we all stopped there and was talking, resting, and then take it from there.
I
asked you a question.
Probably something like you think we can make it.
Yeah.
Do you think we can make it?
So it's a creek bank, and both sides are sand. So sandy banks to get out of both sides of the creek.
Yes, I can tell you this: the bottom of that creek bank, or the bottom of that creek bed, was not sandy.
It's not sandy.
It was rock.
River
rock. Yeah.
The banks were sandy, but the bottom
smooth river rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we head up out of there. Go through the water, head up.
And I'm sure Philip was just easing
along. And
you're talking about
like he always does.
You're talking about probably 60 degrees bank.
Yeah, it was pretty steep.
It was somewhere between 45, somewhere between 45 and 60.
Half throttle, full throttle, half throttle, quarter throttle.
Well, so I eased up the bank, and so just give you that perspective before we get to the exciting part, is I'm going up and everything's fine.
Yeah.
Because it was a full-time four-wheel drive, so all four wheels are digging. We get to the top, and I'll never forget looking, and when I saw those front two wheels go.
Oh.
And when I saw them slip and we lost traction immediately, what would you start feeling?
We headed back, looking at sky. And it felt like it took 15 seconds
motion
to go from hooked up to that thing, and I don't know how. I guess you kind of kicked it off of us or whatever as we came down.
Because I don't know how your brain stops time. I don't know how, but all I can think about is we're done. We cannot go forward anymore. Yeah. This is going backwards. So what are you going to do now? 500 size four-wheeler, heavy. So in my brain, I said, I don't want it on us. I'm already going to be on top of Clifford because Clifford's on the back. I'm going to land on Clifford. I knew that. And so I thought to myself, so right before it hits, kick it. Yeah. Kick it with my right leg. That's all I got. So strongest leg's right leg, push it. So as soon as I felt my body hit your body, I kicked my right foot and it adrenaline.
It went one way, we went the other.
It flipped off of us and never landed on us. But Cliff had,
Yeah. Well, I guess I hit my jaw, my face.
Oh man!
On a rock in there, and here's the thing, and this is the thing I think about now. It hurt. It hurt bad.
I'm not laughing about it. It's just
no. I mean, it's funny now.
It was
over
funny
20 years
moment.
ago.
Yeah,
no, it was cold.
It was cold.
It was in the spring, but it was cold. And I went home and I sat in the bathtub and just sat there trying to get warm.
Get warm.
And I went.
Let me just cool off.
I don't think I told anybody about it, like my mom or daddy. I don't think I told them for a day or two.
Yeah.
And I finally told them, I said, something ain't right. Well, then I got to spend 6 weeks with a jaw wired shut.
They wired your jaw.
It wired shut.
Yeah. I mean, but let me tell you what, Clifford, Miss Lois, God bless her soul, kept that boy in the tater soup.
Yes, sir.
I'm talking about
it was fine.
You didn't lose a pound.
You didn't chew none.
Jaw wired shut.
Didn't
lose a pound.
No. And
tater soup kept it on him.
Basically what Grandma was doing was she was taking boiled potatoes. She'd boil potatoes and then she'd just puree them to the point where I could drink them through a straw.
Like a milkshake.
And I'd go, they even let me go home for lunch.
You have any residual effects from that, Clifford?
Yeah. Well, there for about the first 5 years, I wouldn't eat soup. And even now, if I'm loading a four-wheeler up or even a lawnmower on a trailer, I'm telling you, I draw up. Man.
It's get a little tense.
Yeah, I mean it's
well
traumatic.
You remember stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I've never had. I don't think since that day. I don't know if anybody was on the back of a four-wheeler with me and we went something questionable.
Hey, you might want to
just hop off. Well, all right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Clifford, thank you.
Hey, I'm glad to do it. I tell you, I appreciate what y'all are doing. The podcast, telling about Hayden and just the people. Mm-hmm. I enjoy, for a selfish, I enjoy these podcasts where you have people on because I enjoy learning about people.
Yeah. Well, again, we appreciate Shane. Thanks again for having us in the shed here. Don't forget Precision Graphics. Go down there, man. They got some good designs. I love the throwback, man. That Wiley, with the Wiley Wildcat, man. That's a good one. And I think I'm probably going to have to buy that one for my wife. She loves the yellow one.
Yep.
So anyway, 10% off. Don't forget to mention podcasts. Speaking of podcasts, this is the Hayden Alabama Podcast. I'm Philip.
I'm Shane.
I'm Cliff.
We'll see you next time.